Bam.
This is Brian Asman, and you're watching the Break It Down Show.
Hey, man, thanks for coming on the show. When I was a counterintelligence agent in the Army, we had a chief, Osman. We said Osman, but I believe his first name was also Brian. Do you know any counterintelligence agents, uncles, cousins, nephews? Were you that guy?
No, I do not know that person. Nope. That's
He
funny,
also
though.
had a fantastic arm. He didn't really play softball anymore, but if you dared to catch one of his balls, boy, he brought it, and he didn't really play anymore. He just one of those
Hmm.
guys that could huck a ball. It was great.
Oh, all right.
Well, there you go. We started with the chance, the stab in the dark at other Chief Osmonds being out there. So I appreciate you indulging me on that. But hey, thanks for coming to the
Yeah,
show, man.
yeah,
I
no
appreciate
worries.
it.
Of
I
course.
love
Thanks for having
folks
me
that
on.
yeah, my pleasure. I love folks that make things. You obviously you write books and you get them turned into other projects. When did you figure out that this was going to be a viable career for you? When did you go like, oh, this actually works? I'm going to keep doing this in my life.
I mean, I've never really thought of it in terms as a viable career. I think of it more as just a passion, really. And
Yeah.
anything that happens after that is just gravy. But I mean, I would write books if no one read them. I would write just for myself. So yeah.
Okay, then why do that? Why? What is it about writing that makes you so passionate that you don't do it for a career purpose?
I, well, it's just like anything that you truly love in life, right?
Mhm.
Everyone has different things that they just fall in love with. And for me, writing is a way to work out all my ideas. I love just sitting there playing with language. I love editing, frankly. A lot of people like to
Mhm.
say, oh, I hate editing. But like, honestly, I love the editing process. I love just about every aspect of it except for social media. Everything
Yeah.
else, awesome.
Does this count as social media? Like, do you want to do
No,
interviews or is this
oh no, I love doing interviews. No, I love talking about myself. So no, it's the
okay?
interview part is great. This doesn't count
Yeah,
as social media. No, I mean more like the grind of like coming up with things to post, and then like
yeah,
some stuff takes off, and then some stuff doesn't, and like there's no real relationship between the amount of time you put in and the amount of success you have, which for someone like
totally.
me drives me
Yeah,
insane.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I got convinced to start a TikTok channel the other day, and
Oh boy,
look, it's a viable platform, but I don't want to spend any more time on social media than I already do. And I've started posting videos, and some will get 0 spins, and some will get hundreds of spins. And I'm like, which one is it, fellas? But is this stuff good
yeah,
or is it not? Like if it's 0, I feel like that's you all. Like if you guys can't get
yeah.
one, what are you doing on your end, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's weird. I just go back and forth, and sometimes I'm like, "Oh, I spent 30 seconds making something, and it blows up." I spend an hour shooting and cutting a video, and it gets very little engagement. I'm just like,
Yeah, yeah.
"What the hell?"
Yeah, or I love the hockey stick followed by the flat line. Like, wait, that was going
Yeah,
gangbusters until something happened. Was it me or was it you? I feel like it was you.
yeah, exactly. And like I've kind of cracked the code on Facebook. Unfortunately, the only way to really get consistent engagement is to rant about things. And so I've chosen generative AI as the thing I rant about all the time now. And those posts consistently get like huge engagement. But if I'm like, hey, I'm going on this podcast, here's a link, check it out. It's like one or two people see that. So anyway, that's my whole thing about social
Yeah,
media.
yeah. When
So,
when I think about writing, because I've got several books that I probably could write and should write, but then I go into like the Barnes and Noble near the LA Farmers Market, and I go, yeah, never mind, because there's just thousands of books in there, and I've seen all the authors that I've had on the show and everything. It's impressive, but then I think like, what the heck does it even matter? Like if I write my story, because not for me. I know my story. I get to tell it on the show, but it is daunting to carve out a niche in there. Does any part of your artist heart allow you to think like, man, if I could become a bestseller just once, like, do you have that desire at all?
oh, of course I have that desire. Yeah, absolutely. But I do what I can. Like, I do things that I have control over, and I
Yes.
think about the things that I have control over. So I'm like, I don't sit there going, I wish I could be a bestseller. I sit there going like, how do I expand my mailing list? How do I
Right.
expand my social media presence? And how do I write better books?
Yeah.
And how do I get more film deals? Those are the
Yeah.
things that I have more control over. And the bestseller thing, it'll either hit or not, you know?
Right, right. And it could be that, I mean, the next author who's on my show who has a book 7 years, 8 years, 10 years later, that went viral for some reason, or the right kind of movie
Yeah,
drops, and all of a sudden your book becomes relevant. So that, just planting the seeds, they may not all grow into a full movie project, but if you love farming, you get out there and do it, and then you reap whatever comes up.
that's true. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Now it looks like, and I barely have any kind of vision here, it looks like you have the same weather as me. So I'm going to assume you're in Southern California.
Yes, I'm in San Diego.
Ah, that explains a lot. I'm in Orange County because I know
Okay,
right now I
got it.
look
Nice.
outside, my sky's the same color as your sky.
Yep.
So are you a California guy by birth and everything, or?
I was born in Northern Virginia, right outside DC,
Mhm.
but I've lived in California a long time, so this is
Yeah,
100% home for me.
yeah, I love it. It's
Yeah,
San Diego's
it's
a
a
good place
great
to be
place.
from. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
absolutely. It's fantastic here. So.
does that help your aspirations on the movie side? Is that proximity to drive up the road and be in Hollywood and go take meetings?
Not really. It's all on Zoom now, so it's kind of irrelevant where you live.
Okay. Yeah.
So
How hard is it to get something made? Describe like the challenge of getting a book turned
almost
into
impossible.
anything.
Yeah, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's incredibly hard. So yeah, I'm lucky enough. I've gotten a couple deals. I have a few things in development. Will any of them get made? Who knows? It would be
Right.
wonderful if they did. I'm always keeping my fingers crossed for that.
Yeah.
But I'm also not pinning my hopes to it either because the odds
Yeah.
are very much stacked against you when
Yeah.
it comes to film and TV. And I'm lucky enough to have one script I co-wrote actually get made, which is cool.
That is cool. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Like that, I try to help people build a development package. That's the kind of producer I am today right now.
Mhm.
And I tell all work, and it's gonna fits and starts, and you just have to keep after it. Otherwise you'll never get any development. Even itself is hard, and you're supposed to get money for development. Well, you've got to develop things that turn into money to get money for development, and it's this never ending cycle of, oh, you know what I need is this other product, this other product, this other product, and you're always trying to build a product for somebody else, and it's like
Yeah,
like I just want to make a movie. I don't want to make a bunch of product, PowerPoint slides, these kind of things.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's just a
Yeah,
lot of that stuff around it. It's very confusing business, very
yeah,
Byzantine business. But at the same time, hey, you know, things that are worth doing are usually hard.
yeah, yeah. And things do get made, right? It's a miracle, and it's funny
Yeah,
because you'll see the people who actually get an award, like Oscars, like where we'd watch an award show, and they're like, I, I don't know how we got here. Like this is so amazing. This journey was impossible. It took 15 years to make this movie, and like they're not joking. It was impossible, and now that here they are getting recognized by the industry in some way. It is the payoffs. The payoffs are great when you get there. Everybody I know that's made something and got an award, they're like, I don't even know how this happened. Like it was so
yeah,
hard to do.
yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that's changed for me as far as like the way I consume like film
Hmm.
and TV is after being a part of it is I pretty much never watch something and think that sucked or that was a
Right.
complete piece of shit. Right. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I'm not sure if I can cuss on here.
Go the
Uh,
fuck you want. Go ahead.
okay. Perfect. Yeah. And so like now I'm like, I realize the amount of work that goes into even the worst movie in the world, the amount of people that all have to like, work together, coordinate just the sheer amount of effort involved. And I'm like, it's still a miracle even that incredibly terrible movie got made, so I
Right.
can't really be that mad at it.
Right, right. And some movies aren't meant to be great movies. Some movies are just meant to be made so that you can
Yeah,
get on to the next one. And that the making of that movie has a market, and it's going to hit that market. And if it's not your kind of movie, you're not going to watch it anyhow. And so they know specifically who they're communicating to, and they're not going to, like all things, they've refined it down to this essence of what the product is. Like,
yeah,
zombie cheerleader high school. They're just trying to give you a good ride. It's like getting on a roller coaster. So they're not trying to win awards. They're just trying to make money, and they get to make movies. And so they have these ridiculous things. And all of a sudden there they are being successful.
I mean, I really want to watch Zombie Cheerleader High School, frankly. That sounds amazing.
It does sound amazing. Yeah. Well, let's get into some of your books. Your
Yeah,
stories. I'm not saying they're that, but but you're closer to that genre than a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Is that your happy place? Are you a thriller guy? What? How does your muse speak to you?
Yeah, so I'm definitely a horror writer. Love horror, but I write in a lot of genres. I've written some crime, written some stuff that's like more in a sci-fi vein, written some comedic stuff. I'm all over the place. It just depends on the specific project. But everything kind of runs a gamut, and I write what I get excited about. I have very weird ideas oftentimes, and I just want to see them brought to life.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm going to put a link up here for everybody. This is Brian's author page on Amazon. So you can always go there. And when you use my links,
Oh,
hey, guess what? I get a little taste too. But the best way to support Brian is to go directly to his website. And I'm going to put that link up here now as well while we're talking. But all of this stuff, and you guys know what I always say, buy two, buddy read. And these books aren't that expensive. So it's a great gift. Books are great gifts. And here we go, Brian Osmond Books. But bam, man, fuck this house is the latest title. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so this actually started as a Twitter joke. I was like, what would be a really good title for a haunted house book? And a bunch of people are like, that's actually really good. You should go write that. So I did. And so it's a haunted house book, but it's kind of a satire on one level of the typical haunted house story. It plays with like a lot of the tropes of, a family moves into a new house and, or creepy kids, things like that. It's kind of like trying to flip those tropes on their head while also being a satisfying horror story at the same time. And
Yeah.
so that's the main novella. And then the other disasters are 6 short stories that sort of run the gamut of there's 7 Years, which is kind of my take on like a lost 80s Freddy Krueger style monster.
Hmm.
We have Beware the Hurly-Burly, which is very much inspired by the Slender Man crimes in Wisconsin that the 2 young girls committed, where they tried to murder their friend to appease the Slender Man. There's Line of Sight, which is essentially The Shield meets Supernatural. It's about a group of
Wow.
crooked cops
Yeah.
and a supernatural killer. And so there's just a range of stuff in there. Razor Bill is my Western ghost story about a haunted outhouse, and it's not scatological at all. I feel like I always have to explain that to people that like no, I didn't go like the easy route with this, but like if you live in a world where things become haunted, right? Why
Yeah.
wouldn't an outhouse be haunted sometimes?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Sure. I mean, why wouldn't all that sludge turn into some kind of creature that isn't great? And there you go. Now you have this supernatural poop monster that comes after
Well,
you.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
not at all the story. Yeah, it's not scatological at all. That would be the dogma route, which is a worthy route
Right.
to take. But
Yes.
yeah, that's no poop monsters.
Right. No poop monsters in this one. Yeah. Okay. And so when you're writing on the various genres, is when you get out of horror, are you working for somebody else trying to create something? Are you because sometimes these things are like either requested or are they're just speculative pieces that you put out there, like let me show everybody that I can write comedy.
Sorry. The question is like, am I writing for myself
Well,
or am I
yeah,
writing things that other people want
yeah.
me to write? Or
When you exit horror as a genre, are you doing something speculative like a spec book just to show that you have this capability? Because being rounded is a good way to get hired.
yeah, I mean, I do agree. Being well rounded is a great way to get hired. But for me, everything I do is something I just want to do. And
Right. Yeah.
so that's really all there is to it.
Yeah. Yeah. The process of selling books, you got to be salesman of the year of your corporation all the time. So do you like to get out and go do book tours? And I mean, obviously you're doing interviews right now, you're
Yeah.
spending money on PR, that kind of thing. So do you enjoy that?
Yeah, I love doing book tours. I just did a great event here in San Diego on Saturday with Philip Fracassi, who also
Yeah.
had a new book come out, The Autumn Springs Retirement Home Massacre. And so we teamed up for an event. That was a lot of fun. I've got a few other events this week in Arizona at the Poison Pen, in New Mexico with Books on the Bosque. And that's going to be a huge event with 8 other horror authors. And then back here next week at Artifact Books in Encinitas for an event with Jonathan Mayberry. So yeah,
Oh, I love it.
I love
Yeah.
going out, meeting people. That's like one of the real bonuses of the job for sure.
Is that a viable way to build readers, or are you rewarding readers more, do you think?
I think it's more rewarding readers
Okay.
typically because let's be honest, most book events don't draw that many people, frankly.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
it's all about, engaging with your hardcore readers and fans, and also with the bookstores, and, just making relationships with the booksellers.
Yeah.
Because if they know you personally, they're more likely to give your next book a chance. They're more likely to position your book in, and like great ways in the store. So
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. It's all part of this thing. And again, do you spend time on social media trying to find people? Do you go out and reward these people so they love you more and have an affinity and just buy it on the strength? Like every time Brian writes a book, I love it. I'm gonna just buy it the second it
yeah,
comes out. Like you're trying to manage all of these things with whatever else life throws at you.
yeah, exactly. It's just juggling things, and there's some things like you can't always think in terms of immediate ROI.
Right.
I certainly don't. I mean, I've gotten away from doing advertising for that reason. Well, I've
Mm,
also moved away from indie publishing altogether. So that's another reason I'm not buying my own advertising anymore. But when I was doing indie publishing, I found advertising to have a very uneven ROI, an unpredictable
yeah.
one. Whereas stuff like book events have like a soft ROI, but I find it fulfilling in and of itself. And so I'm always going to keep doing
Man, that's such a big note too, because the market is always moving around. Your spot in the market is always changing. Google will send me like, well, quadruple your ad buy. And I'm like, I didn't want to do an ad buy in the first place because,
it. Yeah, exactly.
it's tough to make them make sense. And then I'll do an ad buy and I'm like, why don't I do these every month? It's just so
Right.
crazy sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think when I looked at it, I was spending like $100 for every like $5 I was making, or something ridiculous like that. Like I
Right.
was just like this, and I know a lot of people have really optimized ads to work for them. I have books to write. I don't have time for that.
Yeah. 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 You're a production guy, right? And I can appreciate that. I mean, I did a show right
Yeah,
before this show because I believe that every time I produce a show, obviously great experience. You and I maybe we'll end up meeting down somewhere in Southern California somewhere,
yeah,
enriching our lives that way. Or maybe we're working on, or maybe we never talk again, but we have the opportunity to do these things. So I'd rather produce something and let that something do whatever it does and reap whatever reward it gets just by having this field full of opportunities.
yeah. Absolutely. I'm a strong believer in the best thing that you can do is show people that you're capable of creating things,
Right.
and everything else just kind of goes from there, right? That's why if you want to
Yeah.
get into film, get out your cell phone and go make a short film.
Go
You
make a
know,
film. Yeah, make something,
just
anything.
show people that you can get stuff done.
Yeah,
If you're
yeah,
a writer, show people that you can do art. You can write articles about anything, right? And
yeah.
then you might not be the best writer in the room, but if you're the one that people know will deliver, then that will get you work.
What do your friends think you do?
What do my friends think I do? I talk to them a lot about the writing process, so I think they have a pretty good view of what it's like.
Yeah. I,
So
I
I,
again,
I, I don't, yeah, I don't think their view of what I do is different than what it is really for the most part.
I guess what I'm saying is it's funny like your friends aren't going to be your biggest like they might read or buy the book but they're not going to be the people that support you because your audience is going to be somewhere else, right? And so like my
Right.
friends will say something like, "Oh man, I'm always paying attention to your show," and I'm like, "Oh, what episode did you check out?" And they'll say one, and I'm like, "That was like 5 years ago." And, but they know I'm a podcaster, but they don't know what it is to be a podcaster. So they just think, "Oh, are you still doing that thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's going really well." And then, their concept of what it is to be someone like me and how rare it is. Look how many books you have, man. Like, do your friends get the scale of your success in terms of cranking these books out and getting people outside of your world to look at it and say, "Let's make a movie out of this," or, "Oh my God, I'm from Australia and I love your books. I buy every one." That like it's almost incomprehensible for our friends to understand just how successful we are in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, I think my friends have a better idea of it now, and they've
Okay.
certainly all been very supportive and like bought and read my books. So, and especially my family too. So I really
Yeah.
haven't had early on. I had that kind of like, I'm not sure what Brian's doing, but good for him. And now it's become, as I've take my career's taken off, it's become more of like pretty much all my real life friends are also on board.
How often are you cranking a book out?
It really depends.
Okay.
I'm trying to write one right now, actually, and supposed to have it done by November, so we'll see what happens.
Right. And do you stick to like novella plus, or are you going 100,000 words at all?
So I'm only writing novels now.
Okay. Okay.
So, yep.
Yeah. And then when you said you got away from independent publishing, so many people are big fans of it, and for all kinds of reasons. What got you out of the indie world and over into the traditional world?
Uh, the traditional publisher wanted to sign
Yeah.
me,
Oh,
so
okay.
I was like, yeah, that's awesome. I would rather have a traditional publisher doing the marketing, the distribution, the publicity, all of that.
Right, right. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, but there are people that are famous in their own regard who stick with the individual stuff, and I guess they feel like
Yeah,
they can do it themselves. The other thing is like when you have a big publisher, no knock on big publishers, but they're like, hey, that was a great first run of your book. On to the next one. And you're like, wait, that book's still selling like crazy. Let's do another run. And they're like, and you really got to convince them that your book is needs another life because they're betting on something and they know that like every run it's less and less likely you're going to push those books out of the warehouse.
yeah. I mean, I haven't really had that experience with my
Okay.
publisher, but I
Yeah.
know it happens. So,
Yeah, it does happen. What what are you still learning about the business?
I mean, I'm learning every day.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to learn is how to sell books. I think that's something we'd all like to learn.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
every day I'm trying to figure out how to get better as a writer, and this just continue just doing my thing.
Yeah. If you're at all like me, there's certain things that are practices that are supposed to work, but I'm just not going to do them because it's not who I am. Like I'm not going to do this
Yeah,
face on my YouTube thumbnail and then put
right.
sensational headline. I'm not going to do that ever. I don't care if that gets me 1,000 more listens a show or 10,000. I'm never going to do that because that's not who I am.
Yeah, everyone has to do what they're comfortable with because I think if you're doing things that aren't authentic, that shows, and it'll
Right.
never work. You know,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
agreed.
Where are you headed? Like, are you going to keep this pace up of the writing? I mean, you're pretty prolific already. Will you slow down? What do you think's going to happen?
I, it's impossible to predict the future, but if anything, I want to speed up. I
Yeah.
want to get more work out there as quickly as possible. So we'll see if the market wants it. We'll see what happens.
You're the prime guy to write for a legacy brand, Louis L'Amour, whoever it's going to be. I'm saying Louis L'Amour being a little bit
Yeah.
ridiculous, but there's a lot of
Yeah.
big names that either the person's gone or they're like, hey, they need capacity. If you got pitched that kind of, and it's like the golden handcuffs, like I get to write on this label and it's an amazing thing, but it also eats at your own personal story time. If you got that kind of an author though, like or offer to write for another author, I don't know. What are your thoughts right now today?
It honestly depends on the situation. It depends on the offer. You know,
Right.
if James Patterson wanted me to write a book with him, that's an automatic
Right.
yes.
Right.
Obviously, that's there's no way I'd turn that down. If someone wanted me to continue a series in a genre that I wasn't familiar with, that's something I'd probably think more about.
Yeah.
It really just depends. I would love to write for Marvel, DC for sure. Uh, there are a bunch of properties like that in comics I really like to do. As far
Yeah.
as books, I mean, again, I'm open to hearing any offer, no matter how ridiculous.
Let's pitch the Stephen J. Cannell estate and give them an idea.
Yeah,
We could do like horror detectives or something, right? And under
yeah.
his label, because for whatever reason, his label hasn't nobody's picked it up since he passed, and nobody in
Hmm.
this state. I guess they don't want to do it. I don't know, but there are so many brands. Who would you want to write with besides Patterson, who you already mentioned?
Okay, so uh, have you read the Dungeon Crawler Carl books by Matt Dinneman?
No, uh-uh.
Oh, they are
Yeah,
fantastic. They're so much fun. And the first time I was reading one, I was like, my God, I feel like this is a little bit like some of the more ridiculous comedy stuff I've done. So
yeah,
I would love to do something in that world, frankly. That would be a lot of
yeah.
fun.
That would be a lot of fun.
And also,
Yeah.
my other big one is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Huge fan
Oh,
growing up, and
yeah.
I have a Ninja Turtles tattoo. I would love to write something in that world as well. But I
Sure.
mean, honestly, there's like a million things I'd like to do.
Yeah, right. You don't get to write all the things you want to write, right? You get to write what you're willing to sit down and do. And as much as we all want to write some fan fiction about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like there's
Yeah,
you have to go make money and do and write books that you actually need to write.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm mostly interested in creating my own worlds rather than,
Yeah,
playing in someone else's. But, especially I think more in terms of like comics. Comics are something where it makes a lot more sense and it's not really seen as fan fiction if you
yeah,
get a job writing Spider-Man, right? Whereas,
yeah,
like, if you get a job continuing on whatever the estate of whatever author, those books are like books in prose are perceived as like slightly less legitimate, for example. Um,
yeah,
you know, at least by some people. So
yeah, yeah. That's a good point. The legitimacy thing, whatever that is. Do you worry about selling out?
I mean, I grew up in the 90s when everyone
Yeah.
was so concerned about bands selling out, and I always thought
Yes.
the
I
concept
love
was
it.
kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't anyone want a bigger audience,
Right.
right? And in order to
Yeah.
get to a bigger audience, yeah, you may have to make some compromises. And some of
Yeah.
those things, sometimes, like I get into it with my editor about certain choices sometimes, and I'm like, sometimes I'm right, and sometimes he's right.
Right.
About when it comes to like positioning things so they're slightly more commercial. But the thing about selling out is like there's a handful of things that I just wouldn't do no matter
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
because I just don't believe in them. So for example, adding like really didactic political valences to my books is not something I would generally be up for doing.
Yeah.
Especially if it ran contrary to my own particular politics, right? I
Yeah.
wouldn't do that just to get readers. Um,
Yeah.
and so that's not my thing.
The said in a different way or asked in a different way for me is writing something that's pulpy or something that's more artistic, where you're really stretching the bounds of the genre and what it'll take. That's a different conversation, but is it the same kind of answer where you're trying to find that spot in between you and your editor and your agent, when your agent's like, quit, write me something I can sell, kind of thing. How do you look at that, like being, and I'm saying pulp like it's a bad thing, I'm not, I'm saying pulpy like,
No,
hey,
understood.
people love this kind of horror, they chew it up and on to the next book, versus something where you're really trying to push the art.
Yeah, so I've been lucky so far in that everything I've done, I've really gotten to realize my creative vision and pretty much the way
Mhm.
I wanted it to. And
Yeah.
like I said, generally any notes I've gotten, like as we've worked through them, I've often been like, okay, I can see how to do that in a way that I am satisfied with, as opposed to just like accepting the note, for example.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and so I don't think like commercial appeal and artistic merit are mutually exclusive at all.
Okay.
And just to give you one example of my werewolf book, Good Dogs, that came out last year, there are these interludes that are kind of like flashbacks to different periods of time, right? And each one, there's one written in the 80s, there's one written in the 50s, there's one written in the 30s, and each of those uses the voice of that particular time.
No.
And that was like a really fun like creative thing to do to add like a little flavor to what is a werewolf slasher book, right? And do something a little bit different. So I'm always looking for little things like that I can do.
I've invented a, supernatural character. Can I tell you about it? It's
Sure,
pretty sweet.
definitely.
I was having a walk, and it was like right about now is full moon time, and the clouds are kind of werewolfy, as I call it. Like,
Uh-huh.
but and I thought to myself, what if it wasn't a wolf that got you, and you got transformed into? And I thought of a pineapple, and so we need a vehicle for the Were Pineapple series. My buddy Tom,
Where
he's a
pineapple, I like it.
yeah, my buddy Tom's a world-class illustrator, paid professional award winning and all that. And I'm like, hey, what does a Were Pineapple look like? And he's so goddamn fast. And so by the time I got home, he already had this thing drawn up for me. It's so
Oh my God,
fantastic. It's super
that's
fun.
awesome. Love it.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, oh man, you'd be stuck in, this Were Pineapple body, at least while the full moon was out and everything.
Well,
You would be,
this could be the next big horror icon. Who knows?
I know, right? You get these supernatural things. It doesn't have to just be a dog. It can be whatever. It's hilarious. When you're trying to figure out how to write the 50s and the 30s, what texts are you in to work on that verbiage, or do you just wing it?
I was mostly just winging it, like kind of
Yeah,
the synthesis of all the pop culture that I've consumed over the years.
right.
So is it authentic? I don't really care. Does it
Yeah,
feel like it has the flavor of it? Yep.
yeah, yeah. And that's no critique for me because some people are, like I have to go to the place, I have to walk around, and they channel more than
Yeah.
they, whatever, right? So
Oh,
there's all
I do
kinds of
that
ways to do that.
sometimes. Yeah,
Mm,
I do that. I do that sometimes. Like I remember once I wrote a horror story that took place in IKEA, and I actually went to IKEA and sat in the office, the home office section behind the desk, and wrote the story there. And actually, had people kept coming up and asking me questions about
yeah,
like various furniture, like
yeah.
where's the ARP salon or whatever,
Yes.
like and I'm like, man, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm over here just writing a story. Yeah,
Yeah.
one of my devices for going to sleep is I'll tell myself a story, and so I'll pick a scenario and I'll think about it. And I don't have to have been there before, and then before I ever finish a story, I'm conked out. It takes me a couple of seconds to go to sleep.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
I
my
do that
stories are
too.
boring, but yeah, it's great to just put yourself in another spot and just live in that world for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden out. You know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I find that very useful. Also, trazodone that helps too.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Uh, so we've seen a lot of murder mysteries come out. Do you have a penchant at all for those kind of stories? Are you interested in writing a murder mystery?
Sure, yeah, those are fun. I find mystery really hard to write. And
Mm,
so there are elements of mystery to like a lot of my things. Like Good Dogs has a mystery element to it.
right.
Will I ever write a straight up mystery? Maybe. I mean, the book I'm writing right now is kind of more on the thriller side,
Yeah,
and it does have like mystery elements for sure.
yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, I do love murder. I love a good murder mystery, though. I think
I
everyone
know.
does.
Yeah, yeah. They're so entertaining, and I imagine you dabble in the screenwriting side of things, or maybe you're more than a dabbler. Maybe you're actually a legit screenwriter writing your own things.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, I had one script I co-wrote get produced. I had
Right.
another short film I wrote and directed, win a couple awards. That's something that I've unfortunately over the last couple of years I haven't really done much of though. That
Mm,
was all
hmm.
kind of a couple years ago, and I've had to really focus on novels the last few years. That's something I would love to get back into though, if I can
Yeah.
find the time and the right opportunities.
What does that look like? What's the right time? What's the right? I mean, I've got stories that I need to get converted over into screenplays. Like, what does that opportunity and look like for you?
Well, it involves essentially my stocks like gaining in value to the point where I have money again to go make things for the most part. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm interested in mainly doing indie film myself,
Right.
right? I want to go out and make things with my friends. And so, like the
Yeah.
short film I wrote and directed was like that, right? Where I just went out and did it.
Yeah.
And the film I co-wrote was also like that, where
Mm.
uh, it was just a good opportunity. It's an indie film. It's on Amazon. It's called The Haunting in Ravenwood. If anyone wants to watch it, but
Okay.
yeah,
I'll
so
pull it up.
the film stuff just costs money to do for the most part, and
Yeah.
so that's the big limiting factor. Is over the last couple of years, the stock market has not been kind to me, unfortunately,
Mm. Hmm.
and it's just a matter of hey, I'm just gonna hold on and write books and see what happens.
Write books and see what happens. You've written a haunted house story. That's another happy spot to do things. Why are we fascinated by haunted houses? What is it about them?
Well, I think anytime that you have horror that is that close to you, that is that personal, like, your
Yeah.
house is supposed to be a safe place. And
Yeah.
you're not supposed to feel afraid in your house. It's supposed to be your castle, your fortress. And when there's something inside there with you, that's absolutely terrifying. I think there's also the aspect of am I losing my mind or am I not losing my mind? That often comes with haunted house stories because you're seeing things that may or may not be there. Not everyone is seeing the same thing. Some people might not be seeing anything at all, right? And it
Yeah.
becomes, this what is going on? Is anything going on? Is it, do I need a priest or do I need a psychiatrist or do I actually need both?
Right. Well, I put the link up for the haunting at Ravenwood on
Oh,
Amazon.
thank you.
Yeah, check that out.
Heck
Well,
yeah.
this stuff's
Thanks.
easy, right? Like I need something to watch. Here's a dude who's made a movie. Go watch the damn thing. It's easy,
Yeah.
right? It's easy. Yeah. So I hope people that do. I certainly will. The the idea of a haunted house and how it's home when you're supposed to be safe, or you get this new home and you don't know what's going on there. It's great. And we've all, especially when we were younger, and the power goes out, you're like, oh my God, it's so dangerous in this house. It's so scary. It's funny how in real life, your own home can become very terrifying, even though like nothing changed other than there's a storm and the power is out. But our
Yeah,
imaginations will run wild with us. We've all done that.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can have kind of, especially when your space is changing. I remember I was getting my house remodeled, and then kind of some weird stuff started happening, and
Yes.
it was just kind of like I think more mostly in my head, but sometimes stuff would
Right.
like fall off the shelves, right? And there are reasonable explanations for this, but we had a couple of things like that happen where it was like, what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah. I used to be a handyman, and when you're a
Oh, really?
handyman in the
Okay.
Bay, yeah, when you're a handyman in the Bay Area, you come across some crazy things. And so I was drilling into a wall one time of an old house, and something was going on where I was drilling, and I couldn't figure it out. And I pulled the bit out, and I'm like, "That's got to be hair. What's in there?" And the lady's like, "Oh my God, what's in there?" And I'm like, "Wow, am I about to open up a murder scene?" So it ended up being a cat that had been dead. It was all mummified and everything.
Oh my
But
God, that's terrifying.
yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, hopefully we haven't released a cat demon into your house. I don't know how these things work, but yeah, I mean, that's how that's where the imagination comes in. It's like, what happens if something does happen, and what is that thing that happens?
Right, exactly. And it's funny that you bring that up actually, because when I was getting my downstairs bathroom remodeled, I I wrote a fake murder confession and
Yeah,
included like a photo of the supposed victim and put it in a Ziploc bag and hid it in the wall. And then they patched up the wall. So if anyone ever remodels my house again after if I ever eventually sell it,
yeah.
someone might find the fake murder confession in there, and who knows?
When we my grandparents towards the end of their life, and they were rebuilding some of their house, they had to spend some money, so they got into the wall and they found the remains of some guy's lunch, and he had a bottle of tequila and the worm was still in it. It's
Oh my
decades later.
God.
And I'm like,
Oh,
should I
that's
just rip
wild.
this thing right now? Why
Yeah.
not? I did not. I did not. But I'm sure I have friends that would have like just tilted and gone for it.
Yeah,
It's
I
crazy
mean,
what you find in walls.
yeah, I know. Well, I like having being a big fan of the movie Street Trash. I would not
Yeah,
drink liquor that I found in a wall because that's the whole plot of that movie. But hey, we'll see what happens.
we will see what happens. How much are you inspired by day-to-day life with your stories? Like, are you always just keeping a journal, or what do you do with all the crazy things that we all experience?
Yeah, so I write a lot of stuff down in my phone, so it's kind of a semi journal. I have a
Hmm.
dog, and we walk probably about 5 miles a day. So I get a lot of my ideas while I'm out walking, either just listening
Yeah,
to music and letting my mind free associate, or actually just crazy stuff happening to me. Because like we live at the beach here in San
yeah,
Diego, it's kind of a busy neighborhood. There's a lot of stuff going on at all times, and there's a lot of really bizarre things that happen. Like just last week, I came back and we were getting a new roof put on my place, and there was a porta potty in the alley. And my neighbors told me that there was a guy smoking meth in the porta potty, so had to go get him out of there. And I had this guy fucking screaming at me and everything while high on meth, which is always fun, you know. So
yeah.
I've had a lot of adventurous moments. Let's say just living at the
Uh,
beach in California for sure.
yeah, man, oh man, you get some characters, people that ended up on the fringes of humanity, and there they are existing on the beach. You're right. You see a lot of interesting things. And then there's also just like regular families going down to the beach with all their stuff, carrying their coolers and
Yep.
everything, 5 feet away from some wreck of a human. And you're just like, I was in Santa Monica one time, and for folks who don't know, Santa Monica is often called the Silicon Beach. And there's a lot of emerging tech there, robot this, all these other things. And so I'm walking down. I'm going to go do a show with a buddy of mine named Pete, and he is an actor. Um, so I'm going to go see him. And as I'm walking, I walk by what is left of this human. They're still alive, but it's just existing on alcohol and under a tarp. And it's like, kind of like a monster. And then trundling by is this robot that you probably could deliver ice cream sandwiches in or something. And then a robot taxi comes by. And I'm like, look at this weird world. I got my buddy who works out on Muscle Beach. as an actor, I've got these robots all around me, and I've got this person who is on the fringes of survival. And it's just such a weird upheaval. I've always been inspired by that to think about like, what do you do with this? I wouldn't call it dystopian, but that's good enough for what we're doing right now. It's just these weird parallels that these lives that you see all going on at the same time in this magic moment. And by the way, if you work at a startup in Santa Monica, that's a whole different world. Like you got the office dog and the ping pong table and all the cliches of the startup world. And again, just a few feet away is this person whose life is just not what anybody would ever choose. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting dichotomy here in Southern California and Northern California, San Francisco as well. The kind of,
Yeah,
the close geographic proximity between the haves and the have-nots, but then the incredibly, almost unimaginably wide social distance
yeah,
between them as well, right? And
yeah,
economic distance between them. It's
yeah,
it is kind of disconcerting, and you're right. When you have like robots walking around now, and all of a sudden, and then you have other stuff
yeah.
going on, you're like, what the wow,
I
what's going
know.
on?
I know. Yeah. When I left, I did the show and I was coming back. There was a caseworker, two caseworkers talking to this person. And again, you think about, I mean, yeah, let's not get into all that stuff. Let's talk about writing books.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
much
yeah.
time a day do you write when you write your books?
About an hour a day usually,
Okay.
during the week, and then on the weekends I'll usually do more. Just it just depends. Sometimes I'll get off on a good writing jag and spend the whole day writing on a
Yeah.
Saturday, and other days, I'll just say, okay, I try and get at least 1,000 words in every day.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Cause you got the guys who are iron ass guys. You got the guys who are, and you're probably more in this, like, I write until a certain point and then I stop because then it becomes more of a chore. So yeah, it's interesting to me how people do it. And if you're on a deadline, obviously it probably changes, but
Yeah.
it's interesting all the different ways to write. And do you feel like this is the way you do now? Like, have you found it, or are you still evolving?
I mean, I think you can always evolve for sure. I mean, I
Sure.
found something that works for me. Doing about 1,000 words a day. That's 4 novels a year at that
Yeah.
pace. And granted, I don't write every single day now unless I'm working on a project.
Yeah.
But I kind of write. I'll work on the project, and right now I'm doing at least 1,000 words a day while I'm working on this one particular
Yeah.
project.
When
And
you
then I'll
hit,
probably
go ahead.
Oh no, and then probably after that I'll have some downtime and then back to the next
Yeah.
thing, you know.
When you hit the end after the first run through of a book, how many of those 40,000 words survive?
Well, now it's more like 80, 90,000,
80,
but
90, whatever it is. Yeah, whatever the number is.
I'd say probably a majority actually survive. Uh, I find the revision process is kind of more for me more about refinement usually. It
Okay.
depends on the book. Some books are quite different, but
Mm,
I'd say for my usual process is that, by the time I get to the end, it's really more kind of like dialing things up and dialing things down than like wholesale changes at that point.
mm. Dialing up and dialing down, but you're thinking vertically about that. Why don't you think horizontally? It's a weird question, but I'm always fascinated by how we, like, I talk about dials and switches, a lot of times
Mhm.
too. So you say dial up, dial down. What is it about that vision that works for you?
Well, to me that is both horizontal and vertical because I'm looking across the entire manuscript
Okay,
and thinking
okay,
about what needs to be dialed up and down where, right? So it's
okay.
kind of more of like a 3D field that I'm looking at right
I
now,
got you.
and
Okay.
going like looking at all the beats as a whole and going like what chapters need a little more action, for
Yeah,
example. What needs a little more conflict, what needs a little less of this or that, right? What
right,
needs less of a flashback or something, or like
right, right.
where
When
can I
I
cut a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, yeah, boy. I'm verbose. When I write, I'm like, oh
Yeah,
my God, I can't shut up. I just cannot shut up. But, that's why I add it. The other
but
thing
yep.
too is if I start writing fiction, so if I write about something that's happened, I'm pretty good about that. But man, if I write fiction, it turns into porn just so fast. I have to completely cut that part of the story off
Wow,
because
wow.
I know that's where I end up all the time. And I'm
All
like, why am I
right,
writing porn
well,
again? Yeah.
hey,
And
why not?
why not? Someone's got to write porn.
Yep,
But
exactly.
yeah, like I've got this spy novel that I'm writing, and for me, I mostly write it like it's a hobby. So I'll sit down and I'll, yeah, I'll do 500,000 words or whatever it is, and maybe some of it lives, maybe not. But I'm also not trying to necessarily write a book. I'm acting like it, but I don't know that I'm actually doing it. But all of a sudden, I'm like, I start writing porn, and again, I'm like, how did I get into this porn world again? I gotta go back, and then all that work, boom, has to go away because I don't want to write a porn novel. I want to write a spy novel.
Yeah, yeah, no
Uh,
doubt.
what you know, if you turned yourself into a full-time movie producer, movie creator, and you didn't write books anymore, is that a viable future for you, do you think? I mean, is that,
No,
or do you think okay, so you'll always write?
no, I mean, I really prefer writing books. That's my number
Yeah,
one. Everything else is just kind of fun.
right.
And
Okay,
so I would never want to get away from writing books full time.
gotcha. Okay, okay. Yeah, just because like I have my show, and if movies for me end up becoming a real thing, which it seems like more and more like it is, I'm gonna have to make
Sweet.
a decision about. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm saying that you understand, like this is like a
Yeah,
little baby tree, but it's growing, and I'm like, oh my god, it got bigger, So it's I haven't reached the point where I'm like I'm a movie maker full time, but that could happen pretty quick here, where like, and this you'll appreciate this. So my hometown's going to lose its refinery, and so they've come to me and they're like, can you build a movie studio here? And I'm like, well, what do you mean by a movie studio? And all
ooh,
those questions go, yeah, right. That sounds fancier. We're talking like 5 people on laptops, right, for right now.
yeah,
But if I've got 5 people on laptops and we're doing development production, and then we turn the area into a shooting range, and they want to give the permits, I thought, like, we want you to do this, so I've got the
oh
backing
wow,
of the city, I've got the backing of these city fathers. All of a sudden, maybe, and look, maybe this won't happen, right? It's still very uh, fragile, but all of a sudden, I don't know if I have time for a podcast, and I love doing this,
right.
and so I don't know that I could take on all that responsibility and still, produce a show like this without, I don't know, something. So, and I'd hate to lose this. So maybe I won't ever lose it, but it may just get overwhelmed by the work. And obviously, if I'm doing that, that's going to be work that I love.
Yeah, I mean that's a good problem to have, right? Is to have more
Yeah.
opportunities than you know what to do with. So
Yeah, 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 that's a good thing. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't want to take too much more of your time. I appreciate it. I know we squeezed this in for you and for me, so thank you for coming on
yeah,
the
you can tell
show.
I'm in the car. I'm going around to bookstores right now trying to sign books since it just came out. So
Yeah,
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 I'm glad that we got a chance to catch up for a little bit. This has been super fun.
yeah. When's your next book spot right now? Because I know you named a bunch of them. What's the next one coming up, and when
Yeah,
is it?
this Thursday, the Poison Pen in Scottsdale, Arizona at 7 p.m. And that'll also be with Philip Fricazzi.
Okay, there you go. So everybody in Scottsdale, all my Mesa people, like get over there and go check this out. Say goodbye to you in a second. Everybody else, I'll talk to you all, I guess, tomorrow morning. All right, so I'll see you all then. And hang in there, Brian. I'll be right back.